I'm really... Artie! I need to go take care of this. I'll be right back.
Well, hi. Welcome back, everyone, to episode 2, what should be episode 2 of the Pillowfight podcast. We recently recorded and uploaded our first episode not too long ago. So if you gave that a listen, if you copped that one on iTunes or Spotify, we'd like to thank you very much. That means a lot. We will be doing this weekly. We should be having these up every Sunday, I believe is the plan. If not that, on Saturday, they will be showing up on iTunes and Spotify.
They'll be up once a week regardless, yeah.
So, and he's back. I didn't know how long I was going to have to drag that out.
Yeah, no, I could hear you the whole time. I just accepted that as my fate. By the time it started, I was like, yep, this is reality now.
Yeah, because we're including that bit about that beforehand.
And you also, I don't believe you introduced us, but I'm Noah. This is Will.
Correct.
The Pillow Fighters. Yeah.
Is that what we call ourselves?
Actually, we're the Egg Whites, but...
Yeah, I don't know about Pillow Fighters.
Yeah, we'll call our fans of the podcast, which don't exist, Pillow Fighters.
Pillow Fighters? I don't know about that one. I feel like maybe we should stray away.
I don't really know, man.
I've never been a fan of when YouTubers do that, when they like give their fans a title. Like there's like
I'm fine with it, especially if it's a meme though. Like you gotta go into it like preemptively as like a self-deprecating thing.
Yeah. Something like Game Grumps, I think, says they call their fans like lovelies, which is, whatever. It isn't one like, I don't want to say iDubbbz because I don't want you to have to edit that out. But his is very like ironic on the nose.
Yeah, I don't know. If I were iDubbbz, I would call my fans the iDubbbzes. Is that good?
All right. Possibly. Well, that's on record.
It's on record for the world to know.
There are some that I'm okay with. Like the Game Theorist just calls his fans the Theorist. I guess like that's just part of the channel name. That's what he does there for the most part. So I'd say that one's fair.
I feel like there's only two directions you can go with it that I think is okay. One is stupid, the most on the nose like thing that's deliberately done as like a joke. Like if we called our fans whiteys, I don't know, something dumb. But then another one is like something that's more clever, that's acceptable. If it's like really clever and you're like, okay, that's pretty good, then it's acceptable. But if it's just anything in between, if it's not like somewhere between self-deprecating and super clever, if it's anything in between that, it's just cringeworthy, man.
Yeah, there was one that I feel like captured the best of both. I'll
just allow our fan, if at some point we have an audience like that, I'll just allow them to decide what they want to be called.
Do you remember that old meme, this like pretty old video from a couple years back, where it was like the girl in the little pink like pajamas outfit singing the song about daddy's cummies?
Yes.
Remember that song? She actually made, I believe it's the same, she made a YouTube channel called, I think, just Grace. Like she has a Discord and everything. She calls her fans the Cummies Gang.
I don't like that.
Because she doesn't act like that at all anymore. It's like a completely different person.
Yeah.
But she still, because like I think that's like her most popular thing by far, obviously. She calls her fans the Cummies Gang. I think they picked that themselves. That one I like. I would be very okay with that one. If we could have that one no context, I'd prefer that. To call our fans the Cummies Gang.
The Cummies Gang. Just completely unrelated to our channel. Completely makes no sense at all. That's the point.
I don't know. Egg Whites. I feel like there's a connection there.
I feel like if we went some sort of route where we're like, oh, we'll call our Egg Whites fans the Yolks because they're the only thing missing from us, then that would be pretty cringy.
Yeah, don't ever do that again. The voice did not compliment that.
Are you
at
sure?
All.
I feel like that
very
voice was
sure.
perfect.
Wait,
Speaking of, so talking about older YouTubers though, like that did, this one hit wonder sort of thing and still maintained an audience afterwards, but like they were known for that one quintessential thing. Have you seen all of the drama that's been going down with like Oni-san lately?
Onision, you mean?
Onision, yeah.
Onisan?
I don't know why I said Onisan.
You got something you want to tell me?
Yeah. Onisan.
You don't even
no,
watch
ᴤᴄᵃ.
subbed anime. You watch dubbed anime.
Yeah.
So I know where you got that from.
Shut the fuck up.
Yeah, ᴠᴄᵃ, he's always been in that shit.
Yeah, I mean, it's just so crazy, man. Like, I did not realize, because I don't keep up to date with this dude. I don't care. But there's a couple YouTubers who I will occasionally watch a video by, not necessarily people who I'm subscribed to, because I feel like I only subscribe to people who I'm like, I love this shit. This shit's what makes me laugh every time. So, like, there's some that like constantly show up on recommended, and I'll regularly watch the occasional thing, and they've been covering a lot of ᴠᴄᵃ's like ridiculous psychotic breakdowns, and it's baffling, man. Like, he's really walking that fine line between legitimately being a psychopath and, you know, playing it up for the meme. I don't really know, but it's so weird, man. The I'm a banana thing, right?
Yeah, his biggest video by far.
The thing that he's known for.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's so cringy looking back on it. Just
it is.
Realizing that there was actually a time where myself, when I was like 11 or 12, thought it was funny.
Oh yeah, I was there with you and JD. We ate that shit up.
We did. We ate it up like it was so good. But looking back at it, like, it's not funny. It's just I don't know, dude. It's crazy.
I remember I was like in the
Different
backseat of
YouTube,
our.
for sure.
I was in the backseat of like our car when I was like 8 years old, and he'd just look over at me and be like, "Will, I'm a banana," and I lost my goddamn mind. I just It was all
JD was
game
the one
over.
who showed it to me too. I think JD was the one who found it before all of us and like made it a thing that he brought up. And it was it's so odd to think that at one point that was kind of the content that was considered funny and good on YouTube.
Here's the thing. I don't want to shit on JD. He's my brother. I love him to death. I'd die for him. But
let's not make this a regular thing where we bring up dumb things about him.
I don't want to make this podcast just me shitting on my brother.
We love you, JD.
But I feel like he's the type of person who still loves the original I'm a Banana video. I feel like he hasn't lost any love for that video.
He's probably watching this right now. And he's like, yeah, I mean, it's funny. It's insane. It's goofy. What do you mean?
Okay, that's a little... That is kind of how he sounds, but we mean it.
That's absolutely what he was thinking after you said that. He's like, of course I still think it's funny because it's actually.
ᴠᴄᵃ with his newfound fame of everybody once again jumping on the train to shit on him as he gets those views, as he often does. He made like a couple of like remixes, like remakes of the I'm a Banana video, clearly like just clawing at any views he could muster, like just reaching for them, and they are. Not
trying to milk the
cringy,
success.
Just pathetic.
Yeah, and I think that's a lot of what comes down to it. Is it's just a lot of pathetic stuff. Because I noticed before he started uploading all these like breakdown videos on his YouTube channel, he was like still. I didn't realize he was still making like those I'm a Banana type things. Like, they're so pathetic and sad, man. Like it's past cringy. It's odd, man, for like one of the old school greats, considered old school greats of YouTube, to really just be in this, like, it's just this bubble that he built and is like stuck in, and still, it almost seems like he is in this mental state of thinking that everything is the same as it's always been, that's still, you know, all funny. But the people who like actually made him big in the first place, that started subscribing to him years ago, have all developed past being 11-year-olds with that sense of humor. But he, as a 28-year-old or however old he is, 30-year-old, still has that sense of humor. And it was okay when he was 19, 20 making those videos, because all of his fans were that age, and we were too young to realize this is pretty sad for a 20-year-old to be making this stuff. But it's so strange, man. So just surreal. Just like realizing my brain, how it changed from watching this stuff, and also just seeing where he's gone.
Yeah, have you seen all those allegations against him now about being a child groomer?
Yeah.
He made like a breakdown video about that, and this is a dead meme now.
I love the
OK groomer comments.
So good, bro.
Oh my god.
That should have me rolling, man.
Devastating KO.
Absolutely,
that was like at the peak of that meme that people were dropping those OK groomer comments.
Yeah, it was nutty, man.
And it's like OJ, where like I don't think there's any solid proof that he's a child groomer, but like, come on. I mean, like, Look at him.
I mean, from what I saw, there was some pretty solid proof. There was like the girl who was like 15. I think she might have even been younger than that. Whenever him and his girlfriend like got her involved in like this weird.
Oh yeah, that was weird.
Polygamous. I'm going to say the right word this time. The polygamous relationship.
Let's keep that train going.
Yeah, there you go. The polygonal relationship that they shared. But there was some things. She made a video like talking about it, showing messages and stuff about it, and definitely were grooming. It's very strange, man.
Yeah, that's what.
So
just that whole situation.
On a separate note, pulling away from the drama of Onision, which I'm pretty sure at this point is dying out anyways.
Yeah, I think it's over.
People are progressively just not caring. You know, once you get to 20 breakdown videos, it's just like,
I think
it's not even funny making fun of you anymore.
I think Critical made a video on it, and he was like, the only reason I'm doing this is because I think like it's over.
Yeah. So like something I recently started doing is for in situations where I am in a position of I can't even think of the word of what I'm trying to say. Basically, I've started trying to develop this habit of using Shark Tale quotes.
Go on. Go on.
So, and I was thinking to myself, man, I was thinking about the latest Star Wars, right? You have Kylo Ren, you have your Rey, you have your, what is it called? Kylo Ray love bullshit.
Raylo? Yeah, it's actually just
Raylo,
Shark Tales.
whatever it is. Yeah, like I would love it if I feel like I'm stop me if I'm wrong here, but I feel like Rise of Skywalker would have been a dramatically more enjoyable movie
if they were all fish.
If they upped the number of Shark Tale quotes.
Was there a Shark Tale quote in the movie?
No, I think if like when Kylo and Rey are like on the Death Star in the middle of that ocean and they're talking to each other and Rey's like, you don't know anything about me or my family or whatever kind of stuff that Rey says, and Kylo just in response says something like, here I come, ta-da, I'm Sebastian, the whale-washing dolphin.
That's
or
the
something
exact quote that I was going to bring up because that one has stuck with me my entire life. I was cleaning the windows of our apartment, which had clearly never been cleaned. I had to like get out the window. It's like the back window. It's like a 30-foot drop or something. I had to like take the little things off. And while I was scrubbing the windows, I was just like, Sebastian, the whale-washing dolphin, the whole fucking time in my mind.
I was looking through Shark Tale quotes to try and develop this habit and trying to figure out which ones were memorable enough to like be worth saying. And I realized that there's not a lot of super good quotes in Shark Tales, which is a missed opportunity because if you could quote things from a really shitty movie, it all of a sudden makes that movie so much more valuable. And there's just not great quotes, but that one's a really good one. And then there's an abundance of Shark Slayer quotes, man. Like so many things like, my son Lenny's going to be the greatest Shark Slayer you've ever seen. And shit like that. I really feel like if Rise of Skywalker had upped the number of Shark Tale quotes, I think that everybody would have universally enjoyed the movie more.
There's the how the hell does a fish trip underwater? Or like how the hell do you trip underwater? That one was a pretty good one.
Yeah. How the hell does a fish trip underwater, Rey? I need you to tell me. This is really it's breaking me down. It's really pushing me closer to the dark side. If I don't figure out how a fish walks underwater, then I'm going to lose my fucking mind.
It's like Kylo explaining in the Last Jedi how Rey's parents are nothing. Like you see, all right, there's Jedi, then there's shrimp, then there's whale poo, and then there's you.
And then there's Rey.
I think that's like towards the beginning of the movie. It's been a while since I watched. I say that, but I think it's been
really
about 6 months since I've watched Shark Tale.
Video idea. Let's just fucking watch Shark Tale and react and talk about it as we go through it.
How about we just watch Shark Tale? Video. That's just the video.
That's what I'm saying. That's the entire thing. Like,
no, we don't record anything. We just watch Shark Tale. Just put the entire MP4 for Shark Tale on our channel.
I want to put it there, but say it like, the video title is watching Shark Tale in its entirety. And it's just, the full hour and a half, 2 hour, however long the fucking movie is, a little video clip. And then we are watching it, but we're really not saying anything. So you just hear like the occasional cough and like,
oh yeah,
and like various little things throughout, but no real like commentary. It's just various
got, like, a
ominous
face cam.
ambient sounds.
Bro, Oscar the Shark Slayer. That fish really do be looking like Will Smith. I hate to say it.
What?
That
You think
Oscar
Lenny
the Shark
looks
Slayer.
like-
No, Oscar the Shark Slayer.
Oh, Oscar the Shark Slayer.
The character, the fish that Will Smith voices, looks too much like Will Smith for me to be comfortable. When I look at Will Smith, I can't help but see it now. Like that's what's stuck in my mind as an image of him.
Say what you want about Shark Tale. Say what you want about how some of the character design can be just downright disturbing. At least they captured their actor's face in that little fish body.
Mm-hmm. The Renee Zellweger fish, uncanny.
Hell yeah.
It is wild. She just looks like that. Actually,
She
that's
just
not animated.
just looks like a fish. That's just her.
That's live action. All her scenes were live action.
They didn't actually make a 3D model of her. They just had her go into a room wearing a mermaid suit, and we're like, good, we're good. We don't even have to animate this.
Yeah,
Just,
we're
there
all
we go.
set.
Put her on a green screen, just smack her into every scene, animate everybody else around her.
They had to hire cameramen and directors just for her in the fish costume.
Dude, it's funny to say that Oscar looks more like Will Smith than the genie in Aladdin.
Yeah.
Am I wrong? Am I wrong?
In that, they have a bunch of name spoofs in that movie. One of which is Katie Current is the character's name. Here's the thing. Here's the problem that I've had with that my entire life is I don't remember if the actual person that character is like a spoof of is Katie Couric or Katie Couric. I don't remember, but anytime I think of her or try to say her name in passing, I say Katie Current, like the pun they were trying to make. That's just her name to me now. I know her more from Shark Tale than her actual real life news reporter job.
That's one thing to be known for, man. I think that elevated her career and her name in society.
Yeah, it really did. That was her big break on Shark Tale. What was the city they were in? Wasn't it like a pun on New York City? Because it was definitely like Times Square, right?
Oh, shoot. I do not remember the name of the city at all. Oof. I could look it up, but will I?
Do it. No, do it. This is
okay.
This is what this is for.
All right. So
How else?
Shark Tale.
Where else are people going to get their Shark Tale facts?
It's going to be called Boo York.
It's
called Reef City?
Reef City? Oh, I guess it wasn't.
Yeah.
All right.
I guess that's just a connection you made in your own mind.
Yeah, I guess, because it looks like Town Square. It looks like Times Square. It looks like Manhattan.
Bro, I haven't watched Shark Tale in so long.
Bro, since I moved to California, I've watched it twice.
Sounds like you've had an eventful time out there.
I have. I do that often.
Living experience better.
Sometimes I'm just like, I want to watch just a movie again. I've watched The Road to El Dorado out here like 3 times.
Oh, bro, but that movie's actually...
That's one of my favorite movies. I fucking love that movie.
Dude, I remember when I was a little boy, I was like however old, 6, 7 years old, I don't know. And I saw that movie for the first time, and there's a little promiscuous scene going on.
Yeah, there's a straight up
there
like blowjob scene. It's not like a fully animated blowjob, but it's very heavily implied.
It is
blowjob.
very She literally goes down on him, and you see his face, and he's definitely having a good time.
And like she comes up,
them like and she's like covering herself with a blanket. I remember 7-year-old me was like, I don't know these feelings that I'm having, but I'm having some really good feelings right now. I like this.
Yep.
It was It made young little Noah happy. Speaking of young little Noah, I used to have a split personality.
Excuse me?
I used to be convinced when I was younger that anytime I did something bad, that it was, quote, the bad Noah. And I feel like it was kind of reinforced by my parents, or kind of coined by my parents. And I just adopted it and like thought it was real. Because I remember legitimately thinking as a child when I did something bad, like I was like, and I felt bad later when I came to the realization that I had done something and I regretted it. I was like, oh my God, why did I do that? That wasn't me. That was bad. No.
Like did you give it its own name, like Mr. Hyde?
Yes, he was called the bad Noah.
Just the bad Noah?
Yeah, and I would say that to my parents, like when I would apologize. I remember being like 6 or 7 and saying to my parents, "I'm so sorry I did that, Mom and Dad. It was the bad Noah. It wasn't me."
I understand now that it was most likely 6 or 7, but when you said it initially, I thought you meant like 13, 14.
You're just imagining 13 or 14-year-old me. It's the bad Noah, Mom.
Like
after
I've
already
you
gone
looking
through
at
puberty.
pornography on our computer?
It was the bad Noah.
Noah. I didn't even
Noah,
see any of it.
Were you jerking your tiny little Peter? It was the bad Noah, Mom. Yeah, that was my preteen years.
Did your mom say that shit to you?
No. No.
I thought maybe you were pulling that out of a grab bag of some memories.
Yeah, this is actually like some childhood trauma that I'm bringing up. It's actually what has molded me into the person that I am today, where I'll randomly shift from my regular voice into another voice without warning, because I actually have developed multiple personality disorder because of this. All because my mom asked me if I was playing with my tiny little pecker. Now I have multiple personality disorder.
Here's it. You never would have had to worry about like getting caught doing anything that the quote unquote bad Noah. I don't know why I did air quotes. Nobody can see me. You had like 3 bedrooms upstairs, and they were all yours. You just picked and chose whatever you wanted at the time. And you're like, no, this is my new bedroom now.
I am sorry for
Anytime
having a privileged
I went to your
childhood.
house.
I maintain my understanding of those with worse lives and childhoods than I. I am very thankful for the childhood that I had growing up. That does not mean that it didn't come with its own little baggage as well. But I understand I had a better childhood than most, and I'm very thankful for that.
Hold up. I got to tell him about the crushed ice.
No.
All right. So Noah came to my house.
What is your obsession with my crushed ice?
Noah grew up in a pretty big house, and he always had one of those even before they were in like a staple of households. Noah's family had one of those double door fridges. All right, the ones with like the water and the ice and the crushed ice in the door. Noah, obviously, crushed ice is like better than regular ice. Like the best restaurants, like Sonic and Chick-fil-A. Like those are the restaurants with the best ice, like the fast food place with the best ice. Everybody loves that fucking ice. People buy bags of ice from Chick-fil-A. All right, Shit's crazy. So Noah had almost exclusively been drinking water and other beverages with crushed ice. So when he came to my house, we just had one of those one-door fridges where the ice dispensed at like the top, and it was like those little weird, like half oval pieces, whatever the fuck shape that ice comes out of for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And my mother filled a cup with that for him. He was like, do you guys have crushed ice? He's like, oh, no, sweetie, we don't have. Well, can you crush it for me? Is there like a way you can crush it for me? It's like, no, I don't think. Well, can I get a knife and like crush it up? Can I get a knife and like chop it up and make crushed ice with it?
I don't remember this being exactly like this. I do remember the situation happening, but I don't remember all these extra details. I feel like you are glorifying.
You could not wrap your little pea brain around regular ice. You were like, why is it not crushed before me?
Brain.
Bring me my crushed ice. I was a
smart child. I still am a smart child, okay? So let me have my moment, okay? Whenever you're raised in a bubble, sometimes you have to pop it and come out and understand that the world's a little different than you thought.
Yeah, sometimes you just got to face the reality that life can't be perfect. You just have to accept that you can't have crushed ice, and that's the only thing you have to accept.
You know, I had to realize that in my home we talk like this, but in your home we talk like we're from the fucking South because we're from Tennessee.
Your mother has a way thicker Southern accent.
Oh,
than
undoubtedly. I know. I know. I was just kidding. I was using that as, I don't know what I was
Well,
using
Noah Dean Houston.
I mean, my mother was born in Texas and my dad was born in Mississippi. So
yeah.
It's so weird though. Like they're definitely born and raised in southern places, and whenever they are more emotional, will come out with that. But in general, like I was not raised in a very southern home at all. I never owned a 4-wheeler. My brother did. My brother bought one on his own, but never had a 4-wheeler. Like my dad was more into like old, like muscle cars.
Yeah, he had like a bunch of like hot rods.
Like that. Yeah, and he was more into like buying drums and stuff because my dad was a musician and like all this stuff. So I don't know. It was very different than most people around there, which I think is why I always wanted to get out of Tennessee, because I was like, I do not belong here. I do not feel comfortable.
And what were those posters? Your dad always had these posters in the garage that were like, I think they were called like Rat Fink. They were just these weird, disgustingly drawn like rats. And when you were first getting into art,
rats.
You were like drawing your own, and you were like, aren't these cool? And I was like, yeah.
Dude, they're actually pretty solid drawings for
they're solid drawings.
Like 9 or 10. Like looking back at them, I'm like really impressed with them, especially at the age I drew them.
But those things are just disgusting. That is that just design 101. Just don't make shit like that.
Hey, dude, what is it? Big Daddy Roth, the artist who came up with Rat Fink. Dude, Rat Fink's actually like it's a pretty like big thing. I wouldn't say it's massive or anything, but it was actually like a relatively known thing.
Yeah, but all right.
It wasn't just like some obscure thing that my dad was into or anything.
The people that you'd find wearing like a leather jacket or like one of those Rat Fink embroiders on the back are the same people that would have those tattoos on their left arm of like the barbed wire that wraps around, have like some crazy tribal tattoo on their chest that they paid like $45
which is not
for.
The type of person my dad is, but for some reason some of his interests, like if it was a Venn diagram, some of his interests seem to overlap with that type of person.
Yeah.
So I feel like in another life my dad would have wanted to do that. Like it's almost like he has this identity problem of always wishing that he had been that type of person, but just never was.
That's the bad gene.
That's mean gene.
Mean gene.
Mean Gene, the drumming machine.
Oh, did he call himself
It's actually that? That was like a nickname that he had in some of the bands that he traveled with and stuff. It was never, well, it would be pretty cringe if it was something he had coined.
Your dad was an incredible drummer. We were both raised like Southern Baptist, like around a lot of churches, and we'd go often. A lot of times our families would go together. His dad at one point, Noah's dad, I love how I'm telling this. Your dad would drum in the church band, and he would fucking shred. Oh my! It was the tone was not equal. They were like jamming out to like those alternative Christian rock songs, and your dad was just fucking murdering those drums.
Because my dad is actually like a professional drummer who used to travel and like was actually big in both the rock and the country music scenes back in the 70s and 80s, and playing with a bunch of small time just people who like to play at home and learn how to play their stuff, their little guitars and their bass guitars and stuff, playing alongside them. It was just like such a drastic difference, like such a huge stark contrast. But I mean, he loved it. He just loved any excuse to be up there and playing the drums. And you should remember, but like when my dad plays the drums, he gets in this zone, man. He closes his eyes. His eyes are like never open, and he's always making these it's almost like it's this constant O face during the entire time.
And like, he gets to sweating. Oh my God, that man is wet when he drums.
Yeah, he comes off the stage every time, like, because he still plays with another band. He started playing with another small time band out there in Tennessee. Just he had an old friend that he knew from back when he played music, who was a drummer for the small time band called Prowler, and he sat in for him one day because he was like, "Hey, I can't play this week. Do you think you can sit in with my band?" And then literally just a couple weeks later, that guy ended up passing away, and my dad, having felt, kind of like he should, step up and kind of sit in with this band. He had gotten to know them, played one time with them, gotten to know them a little bit, and he was really good friends with their drummer. He was like, okay, I'm going to sit in and stay with this. He's been playing with them for like 5 years now, and they went from, playing at relatively small places to recently opening for the Marshall Tucker Band, and then opening for 38 Special.
Yeah, did some nice gigs.
Actually getting into some pretty good little gigs around there. And it's not necessarily, it's not something for my dad. He's had his glorious days. He's had his stuff, and he's not really trying to pursue that again or get back in that. But he's having a lot of fun doing it, and at the same time with his influence and with anything else he can do working with them, he's been trying to make sure that they have bigger experiences and stuff, and became great friends with all of them. They're all really top-notch guys, and it's pretty cool. He still plays drums. He loves the experience, and every time he comes off the stage afterwards, he's sweating bullets. He's been up there making O faces for the past 30 minutes with his eyes closed, and he comes off the stage drenched in sweat with the biggest smile on his face. Like, my dad's also 67.
Oh yeah, our dads are both old, but his is significantly older.
Yeah, my dad is 67 at this point, and you couldn't tell. If you saw him, you wouldn't guess he's 67. He's got a full head of hair. It's like his hair's still really dark.
It's like solid black almost, with like peppered.
And especially after he and my mom did keto like last year and stuff,
Yeah.
like, you know, he's also lost some weight too, which my dad was not big to begin with, but now he's just even more in shape. And I mean, he loves drumming, man. And it's crazy to see a 67-year-old man get up there and shred on the drums like it's nothing every single weekend, man.
That's like a whole aesthetic of people that I've come to realize is like those old people who are not necessarily like trying to stay in their prime or don't realize that their like best days are behind them, that are just like, nah, I still fucking do this sometimes.
Yeah, my glory days never ended. Yeah, it's like that thing where it shows Bill Clinton and like, I guess, who was it? Sammy Hagar.
Yeah.
And it's like showing them side by side and they're like the same age, but Sammy Hagar looks significantly younger. And it's like one man here has, you know, spent 20 years doing nonstop drugs, playing the instruments, traveling the world, having nonstop sex, getting drunk every single night. The other one was married to Hillary Clinton. It's like this stark contrast between how they look and everything. And it just shows that, you know, if you live your life to live your life and you don't like play this game that you don't feel like you need to play and you just kind of have a good time with it, you know, in the end, you know, you age well.
Yeah, careful with the drugs though. There are some people that
absolutely.
that can just take drugs better.
Don't do drugs, children.
There was a study done on fucking Ozzy Osbourne because of how well he handled drugs. And like after examining like his blood and his DNA, they came to the conclusion that his body is just built to handle all these drugs. Like the amount of drugs he has to do to get the same feeling that we would get from just like smoking like a blunt or like just doing a little bit of cocaine, he has to do like 10 times that. But caffeine fucks him up. Like caffeine can fucking kill him if he does it. So just the idea that this fucking hardcore rocker, Ozzy Osbourne, you know, frontman of Black Sabbath, he's like a legend, is just doing a fuck ton of drugs, like just mountains of cocaine like it's no problem. But give that man a fucking Coke and he's gone. Like give him a Coca-Cola, he's gone. Dude, man can't handle a Diet Pepsi.
Diet Pepsi, you know, it's the Crystal Pepsi, bro. It's like it's worse than crystal meth for him.
Those Crystal Pepsis, man. I don't know what is so appealing about them, but I fucking love them.
It's literally just the flavor of Pepsi, but clear.
Yeah, it's so cool.
Like the exact flavor profile of a Pepsi.
It feels like it tastes different, but I know it doesn't.
Oh, did you know the thing about like the flavor of Coke and Pepsi and how they're related?
Yeah, how it's supposed to be like, we talked about this like 2 years ago or something.
I think I probably told you about this at some point.
It's like one was supposed to be like, Pepsi was originally meant to be drinking cold, while Coke was meant to be warm.
It's like the time period that they came out, because Pepsi like came out after refrigeration was a thing and Coke came out before that. So when Coke's flavor profile was created, it was created to be drank as a warm beverage. And whenever you refrigerate it, that obviously changes the flavor profile a bit. And then when Pepsi was created, it was meant to imitate the flavor of Coke, but it's meant to imitate the flavor of Coke, but it was meant to serve cold. So whenever Pepsi is cold, it has a very similar flavor profile to warm Coke. And I've like seen YouTube videos of people like, you know, blind taste testing soda products and trying to guess which one's Coke, and they do it with like warm soda. And it's so funny to see people actually drink a warm Coke and be like, that's Pepsi. And it's like, of course you would think that's Pepsi because you're not used to drinking warm Coke. People like the flavor of cold Coke, even though it's not the flavor that was intended. And then Pepsi, you know, they associate that flavor with. So when they taste a warm Coke and it tastes like a Pepsi, they're like, oh, that's a Pepsi.
Yeah, Xander, my roommate, just buys 2 liters of Cokes and just keeps them in his room at like room temperature, and that's how he drinks them. But I think he fucking hates Pepsi. Like, I think he refuses to acknowledge that they taste so similar.
But when he drinks Pepsi, does he drink it room temperature too? Because if he does, I think then like the flavor profile of room temperature Pepsi is very different.
I've never actually seen him drink like a Pepsi, but I assume like when we were at like a Taco Bell or some shit, like he had a cold Pepsi, and he just doesn't fuck with that shit. He's very name brand.
Yeah.
I think he feels like the Pepsi would taint him.
Which is funny because Pepsi is also name brand. It's not an off brand.
Yeah.
Pepsi is a direct competitor with Coke. And, you know, some people will say whatever they want. But, like, for example, there are certain Pepsi products that are just better than Coke products, and there are certain Coke products that are just better than Pepsi products. Like Mountain Dew is a completely different flavor profile than Mellow Yellow, even though they're like direct competitors. And honestly, I think Mountain Dew is better. I don't really, they're not my preferred.
I feel like most people would fucking.
Yeah, Mountain Dews are way more popular than Mellow Yellow. Like they just always have been, which is, kind of shows, Coke may be more popular than Pepsi, but Mountain Dew is more popular than Mellow Yellow.
There is such a disgusting culture around both of those drinks, which I can't say. It feels like,
and that's why
if you walk into someone's house and they have like, if you have a 2 liter of Mountain Dew and or Mellow Yellow in like your fridge when I walk into your house, I'm fucking leaving because I don't want to know what other shit you have in that house.
If you have people who drink Mountain Lightning, that is like the next up. Have you seen that? Like there are actually people, diehard fans who like Mountain Lightning, which I think is like Walmart's generic version of Mountain Dew or something, Mountain Lightning. And dude, there's some people who will swear up and down that it is different than Mountain Dew. It's its own thing and it is way better. And those people, if you become a connoisseur of Mountain Dew, Mellow Yellow, Mountain Lightning type drinks,
that is some white trash.
That is a point where you know that your life took a turn that it probably shouldn't have. Just imagine somebody with like a wine glass and they're like have Mountain Lightning in it and they're just swirling it and they're like, I'm getting hints of glycol.
if you tell me that your favorite drink is like Mountain Dew or Mountain Lightning, I know I'm not gonna take my shoes off in your house because those floors are gonna be weirdly sticky for some reason.
Sticky.
They've never been cleaned.
Bro, I've known a few people who have eaten imagine eating Mountain Lightning. I've known a few people who like are avid drinkers of Mountain Lightning, and there's this one kid whenever I was at college. And in my dorm hall, I can't remember the kid's name to save my life, but my roommate, who became my roommate after JD left, his name was Dustin.
Yeah.
Dustin, if you ever come across this, love you, man. Much love, brother. I love Dustin. I gave him a lot of hard shit sometimes. His voice sounded like a cross between Kermit the Frog and Hank Hill. I loved it. It was the best thing ever. But he became my roommate because the guy that had been his roommate the first semester was this dude who was addicted to Mountain Lightning and would never go to class. This fat, out of shape, nerdy kid, and would just sit in his computer.
Just lay it on him, huh?
Yeah. I mean, I was a nerdy kid too, but I mean, at least I wasn't drinking Mountain Lightning. Am I right? And he would sit in his room, and he thought he was like so smart and stuff. And so one day I went in there, and I was getting Dustin because we were gonna go hang out. So I was like, I came to the room, knocked on the door, and went in. Kid was in there. Oh, I think his name was like Steven or something. I swear to God, his name was like Steven. But he was playing on his PC and stuff. And so I started talking to him about his PC like the PC specs and stuff, and like talking like very technologically about it. And he like looked at me like, holy shit. Like I was not the type of person who he thought would possibly know anything about computers. And like I was talking about how he was like, yeah, my PC is like the most powerful PC. I was like, actually, it's not. I mean, I can show you my PC. I have this, and this in it. And he was like mind blown. He's like, how do you have such a good PC? And all this stuff. And he would only drink Mountain Lightning, and he would have literal mountains of Mountain Lightning of empty cans on his desk, never cleaned up his side of the dorm. And one time, he went out of town for the weekend, and Dustin was staying there, and he had left in his basket of dirty clothes, which his entire side of the room was covered in just dirty clothes sprawled everywhere, so I don't know why he had a basket for it. But he had this basket, and on the top, he had his big old pair of boxers. Actually, no, they were tighty whities. He wore tighty whities. Big old pair of tighty whities sitting in there with the darkest shit stain I've ever seen, just pointing straight up, like on the top of the pile of stuff. And I went in there to see Dustin. I was like, hey, dude, what's up, dude? And he's like, hey, Steven's out of the town this weekend. I'm so glad. And I looked over on Steven's side of the room, and I immediately saw that, and I was like, dude, look. And Dustin was like, oh no, oh fuck no, oh no. He was so upset. He was like, I can't sleep in here. I can't touch that. I can't move that. I can't even be in here. I
can't breathe.
I was like, dude, you could come crash on my second bunk that nobody sleeps in if you need to. Dude, it was bad. There's so many. That's the type of person who drinks Mountain Lightning. We went off on a bit of a tangent there, but I feel like that needed to be established.
That's the whole vibe. That's the whole Mountain Dew, Mellow Yellow.
It really is.
Mountain Lightning vibe.
God,
I fucking hate people that drink that shit.
The entire biography of an individual who drinks any of those types of beverages.
It's just like you come home from college, like, Steven, have you been drinking only Mountain Lightning? That's worse. I think that's worse.
Only Mountain Lightning, Mom. Pulls out the crucifix. This is like needs to perform an exorcism on her son. I would rather you be drinking Bud Light at 12 years old than this Mountain Lightning bullshit.
Fucking juice cleanse will get that amount of Mountain Lightning out of your fucking system. That's in your bloodstream. If I cut
so
you,
much
you
glycol.
bleed green.
Oh god.
Aren't they like a yellowish green?
I thought isn't Mountain Lightning or Mountain Dew like actually clear, or is that like mellow yellow? I know one of them like is actually clear, but they put them in like a yellow or green bottle.
I don't remember. I know Mountain Dew, the bottles are green. Mellow Yellow, the bottles are like yellow, obviously. I'm pretty sure Mountain Dew's actually green.
Bro, you know what I used to love, though? I used to love Vault, bro.
What the fuck is that?
Vault was like, I think it was Mellow Yellow. I might have been Mountain Dew. It was one of those two, but it was like their more energy drink oriented one. And like, it was only out for a few years, but I remember back when I was like 10, 11, bro, I used to love it. It was like Mountain Dew, but on steroids. And I don't know. I just loved it as a little kid, man. My dad would let me get one like as a treat every once in a while. He's like, you can't have you drinking these every single day, but I'll get you one every once in a while, son. He'd go into the gas station, and it was like after the point in time, after and before the 2 points in time where my dad knew that I would want a Yoo-hoo. So it's like that one period of time in between. Yoo-hoos were a constant mainstay, but it was like a Vault. So he'd go into the gas station, he'd come out with a Vault. But it's like every year before that, from 2 to 10, it was a Yoo-hoo he'd come out with. From 11 to 12, it was Vaults. And then from 12 to, when I started driving myself, it was Yoo-hoos. Because my dad knew I loved me some Yoo-hoos, let me tell you.
Yeah, I still don't know what the fuck those are. It's not milk.
It's chocolate water,
dude.
It
says on the bottle, if you buy something and it says chocolate drink.
It says chocolate drink. Dude, Yoo-hoos are amazing, though, man. There's something about them. Something so nostalgic about at this point, too.
Of what it's supposed to be, I feel like chocolate milk. There's something so...
It's like a skim chocolate milk, dude. Like a really skim. Because I think it does have milk in it, but it is very watered down.
I don't know what would be worse. I don't know which is worse. Whether it's the fact that it's just called chocolate drink, or if it was actually just chocolate milk and you were drinking it out of a can.
See, I preferred the bottles, the thick bottles, because they had like the skinny ones, but they also had the thick ones. Those thick boys were...
Here's also the thing about those fucking Yoo-hoo cans. You're supposed to shake them. It's easy to shake the bottles, all the chocolate at the bottom. But shaking that fucking can, it's like the equivalent of like when the carbonation like overflows, only it's like weird chocolatey drink foam.
But they aren't carbonated, so when you shake up a Yoo-hoo can, it doesn't foam over.
I don't know. It's so
they're
fucking
not
weird.
Actually carbonated. Yeah.
I don't fuck with those.
So
Yoo-hoo
like
cans.
there's a few drinks that are like that, like V8s too. Like that you can get a V8 in a can, and like you might shake those up, but they're not carbonated. So when you open it, it's not going to spew over. So same thing.
Gonna be real for a second. I don't fuck with the Yoo-hoo bottles either. What I do fuck with were those little cartons. They're like apple juice
their
cartons.
Logo, bro. It's so like vintage. I love Yoo-hoos, bro.
Popping a straw in one of those Yoo-hoo boxes. That shit.
All I want to be is I want to be like mildly famous one day and just be that guy who's always got a fucking Yoo-hoo.
That is a very attainable goal.
Yeah, I mean the second part is pretty attainable.
You should. All right.
The first part, that's where the challenge comes in.
Let's buy stock in Yoo-hoo. Let's buy Yoo-hoo stock.
Yoo-hoo.
Another thing about that.
Yoo-hoo's about to go on the rise. I'm telling you right now.
Another thing about that.
You remind people about Yoo-hoo, and its stock prices all of a sudden start rising because people start going out and buying it more.
With the Pepsi and Coke thing, like all places that serve Pepsi, like are owned by PepsiCo, like KFC and like Taco Bell. I think one of them owns Yoo-hoo. I think either PepsiCo or like the like Coca-Cola Corporation. I think one of them owns Yoo-hoo.
Yeah, I think you might be right. Well, it should be like Lay's.
Yeah.
Lay's owns Yoo-hoo.
I wouldn't be fucking surprised. So,
dude,
whichever
I was
one
so
owns
shocked
it, that's what we should
when
buy.
I found out certain chips were owned by Lay's. It was just mind-blowing to me.
Like the Frito-Lay on the... Yeah.
Yeah. Dude, I remember when we were kids, like really young, well, at least when I was really young, having Doritos back when they were in the old like white bags.
Oh,
but
yeah.
Whenever I like look back on it, apparently the white bags were like discontinued in the 80s. So I'm thinking, how the fuck did my family have the white bags at home? Did Tennessee just catch up late and they just have a stockpile of 80s Doritos that Tennessee was eating for years after the fact?
You've talked about that before, And I also remember those big white bags at your house.
They definitely had them. I definitely had them. And I remember seeing recently that they apparently were mainly in the 80s, and like by the 90s, I think they were discontinued. So that's crazy to me because I don't know, man. Raises a Mandela effect, man. That's what that is.
Yeah. When I'd look at the back of those bags, I wasn't necessarily mind blown. They're like, oh, this is owned by Lay's. But I did think that nobody else knew, and that I was uncovering like some fucking big corporate conspiracy. Like
you're like,
yeah, Lay's and Fritos Doritos, they're all competing. Wait a goddamn minute. Nobody knows this. If I need to tell everybody, I need to let people know what's going down.
This whole chip competition is just a ruse made by Lay's to make you feel like you're picking and supporting your favorite chip, when in reality, they own all of them.
They're playing both sides.
Next thing you know, I'm going to go in there and fucking Santitos or whatever it is going to be owned by Lay's.
Santito? What the fuck?
Isn't that what it's called?
Santitos?
The white?
What the fuck is that?
Is it
like Tostitos?
I feel fucking dumb. No, not Tostitos.
What the fuck are you talking
about? Oh yeah, Santitas.
Santitas. Oh.
Yeah. Those are the tortilla chips that my parents liked.
Oh yeah. Your parents always had to buy like the fucking... It was your parents flexed in the weirdest way.
My parents did not. My parents did not buy the name brand of anything.
No,
I don't know
they
what
wouldn't
you're
buy
saying,
the
bro.
name brand.
My parents were the most. They might have had some money and they might have done all this, but they are the most quintessential bargain hunters in the world.
They had a weird flex where they'd buy the most expensive of the off-brand shit, and it was always wild to me. Like they'd buy the priciest version of an off-brand of a thing. Like just buy the fucking thing.
I don't really like the name. I'm okay with spending the money, but I just don't like the name of the name brand.
They wouldn't buy Lay's all the time, but they wouldn't buy those great value Lay's chips. They'd buy like this weird in between with like some weird name I'd never fucking heard before.
What was it called? Were they called Toms? The ones that was like the red upside down.
Oh, something like
Ouija
that.
board looking thing. I think they were called Toms. They would buy that stuff a lot. As I got older, they would start to buy Lay's more and more. But like they've always been like crazy bargain hunters, and that might be why they do so well with their money.
Oh my god, there was every year we would like our families would take a trip together down to like Gulf Shores or Florida or Alabama or somewhere. They would often stop at this place called Dirt Cheap.
Oh yeah, we did that. We probably did a road trip through Mississippi, stopping at like 5 or 6 Dirt Cheaps at least twice a year.
Real quick, for those of you who...
And man, I used to love that. That's like when I did Legos way back when, all of my Lego sets were bought from Dirt Cheaps. Like 90% of them were bought from Dirt Cheaps.
For those of you who don't know what it is, it's like places that were robbed or hit by disaster, or like a truck full of something like broke down. Dirt Cheap would just buy all the stock. Or like returned
items from Walmart that are opened and they can't put back on the floor. They would
buy the stock,
and
just
sell
throw
it really
in there.
Discounted.
Some things had a price tag. Other things you just bring it up to the counter and they'd be like, yeah, it's this much, I guess.
Yeah. And my parents are like so good at finding places like that. They found this amazing place. I don't know if you've went with me yet, Will, but we need to go to this place. It's called Unclaimed Baggage.
We went to Unclaimed Baggage. I got one.
Did you go
I got
with
that
me?
Kenneth Cole watch there for like cheap as fuck.
Oh yeah, you did.
I got like a pair of like just Nike SBs for like $15 just because they were like fucking like returned and like worn once. So I was like, oh fucking K.
No, like Unclaimed Baggage, what it is it's a place, it's a huge place, super nice.
It's like
as
the
well.
airport
It's
baggage.
in the middle of this really crappy town, but it itself is an insanely nice store. Like it's crazy. And they'll buy unclaimed baggage from airports around the world at like a base price. So like the airports can't legally open the suitcases and they don't really have anything they can do with them. So this place will like buy the suitcases, and they have a dry cleaner, a factory-sized dry cleaner, like at the back of the store, where they will clean every single thing they get out of there. But because they buy like each bag at a certain price, like let's say they buy each bag for like $50, and then it's got like thousands of dollars worth of stuff in there, they can sell it at an extreme discount. And so the stuff there is insanely cheap, but also really nice. So I got like a $500 Michael Kors like tweed trench coat, one of my favorite jackets, and I got it for like $40. It's insane, man.
Like looking at the fucking watch list, like they have those, what are they called? The people that like value watches and like gems.
I can't think of what they're called.
I forget what they called, but one of those worked behind the jewelry stand and was talking to me about like some of the stuff they had found.
Oh yeah, they're super professional.
$80 to $100 on like a piece of luggage or something, like a bag or like a suitcase. And there's they had some crazy ass like those old Versace watches that they don't make anymore, and like tons of Rolexes that they were still selling for like a good chunk, but because they got them so cheap, they were selling them at like half price.
Yeah, it's like you have a $5,000,
under
$10,000 watch, like actual real Rolexes that they're selling for like $1,000, which is an insane discount. Like if you're ever in Alabama, go to Unclaimed Baggage. It's in, like I said, it's in one of the most backwoods little towns, but it itself is actually really nice, and you'll get an insane deal on anything you go in there and buy. It's nuts. My parents were just always known for finding places like that. I don't know how they find places like that, but they always, every time I talk to them, like, hey, I found this new place. You can buy stuff really cheap. I'm like, Mom, you have money.
You have so much money.
What do you mean? Yeah.
God, I bought that pair of white, like off-white skinny jeans there that I've never been able to actually wear because I was like, these are tight now, but if I lose some weight, it'll be fine. But I was like 16 or something. And now that I'm 20, they of course don't fucking fit and will never fit. They're so fucking tight. I can't wear them for too long or I start to feel like dizzy. I just feel awful. They
just
crush my legs.
Your junk, dude.
Getting out of those fuckers. Oh my God.
It's like peeling paint off.
It feels like I'm ripping my skin off with it. Like they've become so tight that they're like attaching themselves like fucking venom to my skin. Gotta like ring the clock tower bell.
It's my white symbiote. My off-white symbiote. Dude, what was it in the stupid Venom movie? I think they said like symbiote or something, and that was just that made me so mad.
In the trailer they said symbiote.
No, they say it in the movie too.
Did they?
I swear they kept it in the movie. I remember the trailer coming out and people being like, why are you saying symbiote? And, I get that it's called a symbiotic relationship, but nobody says symbiote. It's symbiote. It's always been symbiote. And everybody was just like, no, we're not. It's like The Last Airbender. For some reason, when you have a show that clearly calls him Aang 1,000 times, and you for some reason decide, no, my name is Ong.
What the fuck was the point of that? Whose idea was that?
Probably 𝓤ᵉ dickwad. Yeah.
Close enough.
I said it. Not proud of it.
Obviously, that's not a very good movie. I don't like that movie.
Oh, yeah, they're making the Netflix show here soon, though.
Yeah, I wanted to see those movies finished. I wanted to see all the other shit that they fucked up and how people reacted. Yeah. Of course, they wouldn't have made enough money, but I would have loved to see it.
Man.
I still know nothing about that Netflix series, though.
I think it's such a tragedy because I think the casting in it was decent, but the direction, the script, the handling of the material was just awful.
I think Sokka's casting was good. Nobody else's felt right.
I liked the idea of the Fire Nation being like Indian. Like I was okay with Zuko's casting. Also, the actor that played Zuko was like actually a pretty good actor. He was in Slumdog Millionaire like the year before.
Oh yeah.
So I was cool with him doing it, but they just completely mishandled everybody's characters. And the kid who also played Aang, like he's a pretty like, I don't know, just he seemed like
Noah
a
Schnapp,
fairly,
I believe.
Yeah, his name's something like that. Apparently that kid had completely dropped out of Hollywood after that movie. But he had that appeal to me just looking at him of being just like this innocent, genuine kid, kind of like Aang, but his characterization in the movie because of the writing and direction is completely wrong. Like Aang is always quick to the punch, always goes after it, and is not afraid of, hurting himself, especially if it means protecting others. But that Aang, he was just a pussy. Or Ong.
He didn't say anything funny either.
No, he wasn't funny. He wasn't like quick to the punch. He was fairly timid. Like, I don't know, just a weak movie entirely.
I can't help but think, I feel like I know this is wrong in my heart, but there's still a piece of me that's like, Noah Schnapp, wasn't he that kid from the Naked Brothers band?
No, that's Nate Wolff.
And Nate Wolff. Oh my fucking God. What was the other guy's name?
I don't remember his younger brother's name. I only remember Nate Wolff's name because Nate Wolff's actually like maintained somewhat of a career. He was in...
He has?
Yeah, he was in the Death Note Netflix thing. He played...
That was him?
Yes, that was Nate Wolff.
Like playing Light?
Yes, he played Light.
Oh my fucking God.
Yeah. No.
That was also a garbage movie.
Yeah, he played Light, right? He played Kira.
Yeah, Kira's Light.
Yeah, I'm just making sure. I always get it confused sometimes because I don't know why. Okay, yeah, but he played Light. And then he was also in Hereditary. I think that came out 2018. Really good horror movie if you're ever into that sort of thing, like really unsettling movie. Great job all around. I'm glad to see him actually in a decent movie after being in that terrible Death Note thing.
Did you watch the Death Note movie, right?
Yes, I did.
Did you watch the anime?
Yes, of course.
Did you watch it subbed or dubbed? I assume dubbed.
I watched it dubbed.
That is one of the few anime that I've seen Death Note like 8 times. Most of those, like 6 of those, have been dubbed because I much prefer the dub over the sub in that case. One of the few occasions I fucking love that show's dub.
That's why I really want to like kind of do a video where we talk about why we prefer dub or why we prefer sub, because I feel like it would be an interesting debate topic for it to talk about, because I don't have a problem with sub, and I think Japanese voice acting is great. But one thing that I have noticed between Japanese and English voice acting, granted this requires that the English dub be done by a competent team, which a lot of times if you have a successful show, it's probably going to be handled by a successful team with recognizable voice actors that once you watch any sort of English cartoons in general, you begin to recognize some of the people who end up being in these things. But most of the time, what Japanese dubs end up focusing more on is the theatrics. So like a lot of times they're way more over the top, way more high energy. And a lot of times people will cite that as why they prefer that dub, because they feel like a lot of the energy is lost in some English dubs. And then at the same time, though, on the opposite side of that, the thing that I think English dubs do a little bit better, that's what they're a little stronger with, is the characterization. They really focus on going in and characterizing each person to actually be different in their voices, which I think is something that's sometimes lost in Japanese. But there's way more energy in the Japanese dubs.
One thing that I have a problem with is sort of an aspect of that energy problem, where in certain dubs, like the people doing like the subs for My Hero, like I want to say Yuki Kaji is Midoriya's voice actor, but don't quote me on that. I don't quite remember. But like Midoriya and Bakugo's voice actors, whenever they yell in Japanese, it is incredible. These are some of the best voice actors that Japan can muster for this huge show. Like, these are high quality, like some of the highest paid voice actors. They're incredible. They're like renowned for good work. The people they get to do the dubs obviously aren't like America's best voice actors. They're people who like do voice actor work for dubs.
Of course, but
job.
they are
so
generally, like, if you have a higher class Japanese anime, they'll usually at least get the higher tier people who do dubs. And so like I recognize a lot of the names in the English dub department on animes. Like, for example, Midoriya voices one of the characters that's in Dr. Stone, which is, really cool seeing the different characterizations that he's able to do between the two characters, because they're completely different, polar opposite types of characters, which is fantastic to see. The kid who voiced the original Alphonse in the original Fullmetal Alchemist actually is now the voice actor for, I don't know why his name's escaping me, but the main character of Dr. Stone. He voice acts him. Yeah, him. And wait, is it Senku? Is Senku the one with the crazy hair?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Ishigami Senku.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, he voice acts him, which is actually like a really clever thing, because a lot of what he does as his character is explaining these complicated things, and that's also something that is kind of reminiscent of what he used to have to do as a kid when he was voice acting Alphonse. And I didn't realize at first that they were the same voice actor. And I only found that out recently, and it was really cool to see things like that. So, they may not be the highest tiered voice actors that you can possibly think of. Sometimes they are, and a lot of times they'll use like some of those high tier voice actors to come in for like guest roles. Like they'll be in a one-off episode or something, and like when you hear that iconic voice that you recognize, like that's Tom Kenny or something like that. It's really cool to see. But they do kind of have their own like niche community, like this recognizable within that
Yeah, which is the weird part for me, because sometimes like these, like I hear Matt Mercer voicing like McCree in Overwatch. I'm like, oh, perfect. That's a smooth cowboy voice. They all fit. I hear him try to voice like Jotaro in JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. And it just feels like whenever the characters are yelling in the original sub, I can hear them yelling. It sounds like they're fucking yelling. When Matt Mercer does the like Ora rush, it sounds like he's trying to yell to record something, but also trying not to wake his mom up.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's how most like dub screams sound.
That's a problem that sometimes can happen though, with the English for sure. But they almost function as like different versions of the shows entirely though, because like I said, there's such a stronger focus on vocal characterization in the English dub, because that's just what we as Americans focus more on or like have more interest in, while in the Japanese dub it's much more focused on the theatrics and the energy that they bring to a lot of the screaming and stuff. So that's why like in a lot of cases the screaming and yelling is way more visceral in Japanese, and I can undoubtedly like agree with that, because it's just true. And I feel like it's because also like a cultural thing, as a predominantly military origin, you know, like Japan has always kind of been, you know, involved with combat and stuff. And so there's just such a massive focus on the primal kind of rage and being in touch with all that. I don't know. It's definitely something that they do better.
Okay. So most people watching subbed anime don't speak Japanese. I'm sure they've come to recognize words and recognize some sentence structure, as I did before I started trying to like formally learn Japanese. But there is a disconnect there. In a lot of anime, even good anime, there are a lot of lines that when you read them and you think about them being said in English, you're like, that could easily come off as cheesy or cringy, and oftentimes like just very cheesy. Like when they're explaining like somebody's like powers or something, or explaining a situation, or explaining how the world is, it's all just very cheesy. With that disconnect there of hearing him say it like in Japanese emotionally, or whoever's like narrating or explaining something in Japanese, there's that disconnect where it doesn't feel cheesy because you're just reading it. But when they say it in English, you can the cheese hits you.
Yeah,
you feel it.
I mean, that's another problem that I have
kiddish
with the dub though, or with the sub, is that the subtitles are not proper translations. And that's where a lot of it can be lost, because there's an extra element to translating one language to another that you have to take into account. And a lot of times you just get this kind of bare bones translation that actually misses a lot of it. Like I recently watched this video, which is why a lot of this is on my mind, and I really want to show it to you because it's a great video talking about an example of a good dub, and Dr. Stone has a great dub. And it breaks down kind of why it's a good dub. And there's this thing in there, for example, that there is a character that in Japanese is speaking in a version of Japanese that is kind of like the English equivalent of, or the Japanese equivalent of Pig Latin, right? And in the subtitles, it doesn't come across. They don't do that. It's just exactly what it's supposed to be, and it doesn't really translate well. But then in the English dub, the character actually does speak in Pig Latin, because there's like an extra level of translation that has to go into it. And there's also just various things like in Japan, one word can have so many different meanings depending on the context and the projection of it. And a lot of times in the subtitles, it doesn't come across like that. They'll just kind of translate it to whatever the word is in that. So like a good dubbing team, like the one for Dr. Stone, will go in and actually figure out what the best word that might have a similar multiple meaning to that Japanese word that has a multiple meaning in that language, and try and put it in more frequently, so that instead of having literal individual words that fit the context better, instead of one word that fits the context multiple ways over. I don't know. There's just various different things like that come into play with a good dub that really, to me, makes a dub more valuable to watch than a sub, because a lot of times the subtitles are my problem. I think the Japanese voice, if I could speak Japanese and I could understand it, I would love watching subtitled anime, because
just the original version.
Yeah, you would actually you would catch all the meanings, all the undertones, all of the inflections that you miss while just reading the subtitles, because the subtitles can have really bad translations sometimes, and it might be a one-to-one translation, but unfortunately that's not how translation from one language to another works. There's a lot of like hidden rules within every language that you have to figure out how they translate to another.
I feel like watching enough like subbed anime, you start to pick up on like the really important ones.
Of course.
I'd say the most important of those is like they have so many versions of ways to say I and you in Japanese, which they don't normally do. They oftentimes just say someone's name when talking to them. Like instead of saying, "Hey Noah, you did this," or like, "Hey Noah did this," correct? Like when they're talking to you, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like the most common ones are like watashi is formal and used by women. Watashi and anata and anata are like the version of I and you. There's like boku and kimi, which is like
and that's
friendly
one thing
or like used for love interest.
Like I do wish that I could watch subtitles more, because I would love to be able to like understand more Japanese and have those things in my mind, because I feel like there's so much joke material in there, but there's also just like an understanding material in there too. That
it's
I
like
miss out on by watching dub. But like I said, man, like there's such a problem with the subtitles not being perfect translations, and once I have that in my mind, it really lessens the value of the subtitles themselves, not the Japanese voice acting, but the subtitles.
There are some times where, like I said with the boku kimi, the different ways to say I knew example, where just knowing that little bit of Japanese makes it better. Like you've watched My Hero, the Deku Todoroki fight.
Yeah.
In that fight, the entire time, Todoroki is saying ore wa and omae wa, which is like a very mean, rude. It's like what either super close friends do, or like what you say if you're trying to be a dick to somebody.
It's like Australians, when the way that Australian people use the word cunt. It's like, oh, you cunt.
Yeah, you know? Except in this situation, Todoroki was actually using it to be harsh and mean. But then Deku responded with like, when he was saying like, it's your power, isn't it? He said, kimi no, which is like him very clearly, everyone understood. That was him like reaching out like as a friend, which is like something that's lost there. And there are some times where like the subtitles can capture it well, can capture a translation well, but actually saying that out loud, like in English, it creates this weird disconnect that doesn't quite work. But just reading it, you're like, yeah, that's like shorter or longer or doesn't make as much sense, but it like fits. And like they sometimes butcher some of those lines.
Yeah, I can see that, but I will say I do believe that My Hero has a really great dub, and there is a lot of emotion brought to the table with it. And you know, there's undoubtedly going to be different things, and that's why I feel like one of the things you have to take into account when you are watching anime and deciding on sub and dub is that they are fundamentally two very different versions of the show. You're going to get two different experiences watching it. You'll get a more theatrical and more emotional experience when watching the Japanese dub most of the time. And with the English dub, you'll get more of a relatable understanding to the characters, especially if you are a native English speaker. And, you know, I definitely think that I think it would be really fun to like go through and break down scenes in both the Japanese and English dubs, and both kind of like talk about what the English, like if I talked about what the English does really well, because, you know, obviously you speak English and you can tell things from that, but I have more experience and knowledge when it comes to voice acting and acting in general too. That whenever
having done like voice acting work.
Yeah. And going into watching an episode in an English dub, there's still a lot of nuance that I can tell and pick up on that not every English person could, which helps me see more value in certain projections and things than others, in a similar way that you can see more value in a Japanese dub than the typical person who might not actually understand any Japanese but just likes watching sub for hearing Japanese voices in the background. Like, you definitely do a lot more research and understanding the Japanese language. I mean, your first tattoo was Japanese, for God's sake, too.
No, it wasn't. It was Hebrew. I
don't
have a Japanese tattoo.
Wait, no. Xander has the Japanese tattoo.
Yeah, Xander has the...
That's right.
I forget what it says. Time. It's like, omae no, like...
You really are a Jew, bro.
It's fucking... It says, I want to see your insides. It's supposed to be like a double entendre across languages.
I remember when my parents asked him about what his tattoo was, and he told my parents. My mom was like, oh, well, that's very cool.
It's supposed to be like, the literal version is like he likes like surgery videos, like he likes sort of that weird gory aesthetic, but also like the innuendo, like it sounds so sexual in English.
Yeah,
mine is just Solomon's ring. The like, this too shall pass, which I got on my wrist.
Nice, yeah, man. I still want to get my first tattoos. And
You
also,
don't have any tattoos?
no, I don't. But I have an entire like drawing and plan of the tattoos that I'm going to get.
Oh yeah, I've
have
seen
a
a lot
huge-
that like you and your dad, you wanted to like get some tattoos.
Well, yeah,
You
but
and your
that's
dad
not
both, like-
even part of it. Like, there's this like it's like multiple pieces. One that's on the pec, one that's on the back shoulder blade, maybe one that's going to be on the trap, one that's going to be on the shoulder, and one that's going to be on like the tricep, bicep, and then a bunch of like smaller little pieces that kind of connect them. It's it's basically going to take up a similar surface area to like Dwayne The Rock Johnson's type thing, but it's such an involved thing, and it's all going to be solid black ink too, because it's very geometrical. There's not much shading. It's just very flat, and that's a lot of ink, which is a lot of money and also a lot of pain, and I just haven't had a chance to do it. Maybe when I move out to LA and get the first tattoo. Will and I actually talked about a little I don't know if you would call it like a bet, but it's just like something that we are putting on ourselves. If this channel ever hits 100,000 subscribers, we're both getting the Egg Whites logo tattooed on us.
We're gonna get tattooed.
Matching tattoos.
I'm trying to build a sleeve, and I'm trying to cover my chest, and somewhere there's just gonna be that fucking egg.
The egg. People are like, what is
The
that egg? Dude, did I show you the thing? Okay, no, I don't think I did show you that, but I'll tell you this later. I'm not gonna
You're not gonna put it on the podcast.
Not gonna
Well, now
say
you're
it
teasing
right
people.
here. I am a little tease for you there.
I am sorry that we did talk too much about the sub versus dub. We are gonna make a video on that.
Dude, we
I wanted to
talked a
work on the
lot
script for
about
that
a lot
later.
of things. We talked about Mountain Dew for an insane amount of time. We talked about dub
But
for an
still,
insane amount of time.
I kind
Avatar,
of wanted to
like-
save some of that for the video
Yeah.
when we actually do it.
Yeah, we do plan on doing a video about that for sure. And I feel like less people are gonna watch a podcast versus like a potential video about it. So like it's not like it's gonna cross over too much. Definitely pick up on a different audience when we make like a short form video talking about it. But
it will be much more like formal.
Yeah. Here, if you stayed this long in the podcast and are hearing this, then just expect
Bro, that's like
something
the
like
fifth fucking time. Stop doing that voice.
Dude, I do so. I literally, when we listen back through this before we upload it, because we do this every time, there's undoubtedly, you're going to see I've probably switched between like a dozen different voices, and I don't mean to do it.
No, you have, but that one specifically is like, well,
I swear I've done, I think I did the New York voice more. I think you could argue that I did that one more.
You were doing you started out, I don't know if we were going that far to put that bit in the podcast where you were doing that weird British voice.
I definitely brought that up a couple times. That definitely came up a couple times in the meat of this podcast. But I have a problem, guys. I have like a disability where I just inherently switch my voice way too frequently, to the point where it's possibly not even funny, but it's just something that I have a bad habit of. And a lot of times I'll meet people, and if they have a weird, unique voice or accent, I will unintentionally start mocking them, and I don't mean it in like a ridiculing way. And so I have to tell people, I'm like, I just want to be clear, I'm not making fun of your voice. If I do this, it means that I like the way your voice sounds because it's interesting and unique, and I'll like start copying it. And like that's like I talked about my
repertoire.
Exactly. I talked about my friend, one of my roommates from college, Dustin, and that's kind of something that happened there. Like I would copy his voice because it was such a unique voice. I just couldn't help it, man. And
I don't.
Good talk.
I don't do that. Stop doing that shit. I don't do that too often, but I will whenever I'm like at work or something and want to like say something and make it very clearly funny. I sort of fall into that southern drawl.
Yeah.
Well, I don't want to say, well, wow, you fucking idiot. You ruined that. You have ruined my day. I'm like, you fucking idiot. You have ruined my entire day.
You fucking idiot.
You dumb bitch.
You fat cunt.
So I do that often, and it's not very funny, but it's just a habit to let people know that I'm not being serious.
All right, random video idea that just came to me. What if we made a video talking about the connotation of the word cunt? Because there's such a polarizing thing in the world about like some places and cultures not thinking it's a very bad word, but then America has this really bad stigmatism of thinking it is such a visceral word.
Yeah, like we have a couple of Scottish friends that help us with some projects, and boy, are they just throwing it around.
Yeah, and they will talk to you about how they don't feel like they're like, I don't see why it's such a big deal. It's just such a it's like fuck, it's like shit, it's like bitch, it's like on that level of being a curse word, but not being like as visceral as it seems to be in
it's not
English
any
in
worse.
America. It's you hear cunt and you're like, oh, your skin almost crawls. You're like, oh man, that hurts. That's a hurtful word. It's so weird.
It is wild.
Strange, man.
Is it Sean that just throws it out all the time?
Oh yeah, I mean, you
it?
literally, I think we literally like had a conversation where we asked him about that, and we were talking about it. Or actually, I think he asked us. He's like, so what is Americans' problem with the word cunt? I don't understand why you guys have such a problem with it. And we had to have this conversation about
the
why.
way he said it was like he compared it like to how other people in the UK say mate. They just say like cunt.
Yeah. It's exactly like I was saying a minute ago, like Australia and Scotland and all these places like that will use the word cunt as either like a friendly thing or like an actual insult.
We've got to somebody's going to flag this video. We've said it so much.
It's okay. It's a fucking curse word, dude. It's not like we're saying like there are two words that are actually able to be flagged, and I'm going to say both of them right now. One of them starts with an F, and one of them starts with an N, and both of them have double G's. That's all I'm going to say. They both conveniently have double G's in the middle. So,
have you seen that YouTube video that's like top 10 N words?
Yes, you showed it to me.
Where it's like honorable mentions.
Yeah, people like actually.
Right there.
Was it you who sent it to me?
Yeah, I did because we were talking about it.
Because we talked about how people send it to like send it to streamers, and like they think it's like, oh, it's a funny meme because the first like 10 words are, or the 10 words are not the word you're thinking, and then honorable mention, and it says it right at the end, and streamers have gotten banned for it.
Yeah, there's a really funny bit I like it where it's like number 7, number 6, 9.
It's a good video, quality video, except for that honorable mention part.
Yeah, except for the end, except for how it ends.
I don't condone it. I'm just gonna say that right now.
Do not condone that.
I have a fair few black friends. A good number of them probably are watching this podcast because I started spreading it to them. If you guys have gotten to this point, if you're an hour and 20 minutes in and you hear this, we are cool white people.
You're setting us up and you're backing us up.
Bro,
into a
I know
corner
right now. I know right
you
now.
Are
if
pushing
my
me
friends,
into this corner.
if either Darius Blake or Jeremiah or any other guys are watching this right now,
no, those are the only three. Don't act like you're cool.
They are probably laughing because they are probably laughing at it. So that's all my goal was, is to make them laugh.
I'm a
cringy white person. Okay.
We have ruined the end of this podcast with
we haven't. We are finishing on a high note.
All right, we should have cut this 10 minutes ago.
No, we shouldn't.
All right.
Yeah, so I think, but more in general though, I feel like this podcast has been a lot better. Last time I was very tired, and I remember saying at the end, generally I'm more high energy, and I feel like you can tell that in this because in the last podcast, I don't think I did like any true voices throughout the entire team. I did like slight little things that you were being a bitch about and getting annoyed with, but they were not like, this was like proper me suffering from potential DID throughout the entire episode. So.
Yeah, we're still sort of falling into our stride with these. That first one was on a weird. We recorded that on New Year's.
I got a lot of positive feedback on it though, which I was actually pleasantly surprised. People, seemed to really enjoy it, and I made sure to tell every person who was like, "Man, that was good. I really liked it. You guys talked about some cool stuff. Really interesting to talk." I made sure to stress. I was like, "That was our first episode. It will inherently be our worst." So I just want to let you know.
Put in the description like this is the first and worst episode.
Yeah,
by default.
Yep.
So it should be a Sunday when this is uploaded. Right? We're doing it every Sunday or Saturday.
We're uploading every Saturday.
Every Saturday?
Yeah, because we said we were going to upload every Saturday and then like try and record the next episode on Sunday so that we have like it ready a week before it uploads.
All right, and you'll find them here on YouTube first. Here on YouTube. I say here on YouTube. If you're listening on iTunes and Spotify, it'll probably be a couple days late. Yeah. Those should be out a couple days later.
Were we able to get the first episode on Spotify?
No, it's still pending. The first episode's still pending. It does take a minute.
First episode will obviously be up at some point too if you ever want to go back and listen to it on audio.
We might have to backlog that and just like wait to put the first 3 to 5 episodes on Spotify and iTunes all at once. Yeah. I hate putting it on iTunes. I think there's like an Apple podcast thing. I don't want to make people buy this. I don't want to make people spend $1 on this.
Yeah, that's kind of ridiculous. But yeah, I guess we'll wrap things up here. Thank you guys so much once again for tuning into this episode of the Pillowfight podcast. Of course, we have been Will and Noah, myself, and
Noah and Will.
Whatever.
Oh wait, you put my name first. Oh,
yeah.
okay.
See, look, you're welcome.
Wow, how kind.
I'm trying to look out for you there, buddy. This is an equal endeavor. I hope you guys did enjoy this episode. We talked about a lot of things. Hopefully it was funny and entertaining in some way, and hopefully we'll see you guys again for the next episode. Thank you guys for tuning in.
Bye.
Bye. That was kind of creepy, but we're just gonna.
You really had to hit that last bye from me, huh?
Yeah.
No, it ends now. I'm getting the last bye. Fuck you.
Okay. Bye.
What? Bitch.